The lights turn on. There.
I call to order the June 2nd, 2020 meeting of the Seward Planning and Zoning Commission. Commissioner Ambrosiani, will you lead us in the pledge?
Sure. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
On my hat. Get yelled at again.
At this time, I'm going to read a little bit into the record for those in the room and those out in YouTube land or on GCI. This is our regular meeting, and we are still under some health mandates. So if you want to attend the work session in person, we are following social distancing orders, and we will allow 5 members of the community in the room. We have seats set up out in the hall for those who would need to wait until the people that are in the room have their chance for public comment and are done with public comment and leave the room, then we can allow others in. We are requiring everyone to wear a face covering during the meeting, so if you're still on your way, make sure you have your mask. We do have some clean masks for you though as well. The meeting will be live streamed on the city's YouTube page. Log on to YouTube and type in the City of Seward, Alaska into the search bar. You can also watch on the TV on GCI Channel 9. By 2 o'clock today, if you wanted to submit comments, you should have sent those into the planning department or sent in a telephone number for us to call. So during the meeting, all citizens' comments will be timed and limited to 3 minutes. The telephone number will be called one time. If there is no answer, the planner will move on to the next citizen. Thank you all for your cooperation. That takes us now to item 3 on the agenda. Roll call, please.
DeMoss.
Here.
Ambrosiani.
Here.
Charbonneau.
Here.
Hatfield.
Here.
Cease.
Here.
Swann.
Here.
And Chair Eklund.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 4 is citizens' comments on any subject except those items that are scheduled for public hearing. Those who have signed in will be given the first opportunity to speak. Time is limited to 3 minutes and 36 minutes total time for this agenda item. Is there anyone signed in?
Yes, Andrew Koster.
Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. How's that? Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Andrew Costa, and I own some property on 420 3rd Avenue.
All right, so, there we go. All right, my name is Andrew Costa, and I own some property on 420 3rd Avenue. And what I'd like to voice my concern about this evening is there's potential for a Verizon cell phone tower to be constructed in town. Certain locations. One happened to be on the Lutheran Church parking lot site. And I'm actually in the process of building a house directly opposite that tower, which would disrupt not just my property, but a lot of the local neighbors. So when I was originally planning on building, the original plan was a 4-plex, but after consideration of the character and the charisma and the culture of the town, I decided against that and keep the house in character of the original build. And if a cell phone tower does get constructed, I would obviously, it feels to me like a slap in the face if it goes through directly opposite the house, and in my mind disturbing the charisma of the city. So I think there's various locations that are being proposed. So I'm not sure exactly how far the research has gone into the Lutheran Church parking lot. That's it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any others signed in?
Yes, next signed in is Mary Beth Koster.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Mary Beth Koster. I live at 524 2nd Avenue. And as Andrew, my husband, was saying, we have the property on 4th Avenue, or 423rd Avenue, 3rd Avenue, and we heard about the possibility of a cell phone tower going there. I know that that's on discussion for possibly something within the next year, but we just wanted to voice our concern because that was brought to our attention. We have invested pretty heavily into that property that we're building a home. I think with that being a main thoroughfare into the community, it's kind of an eyesore if something like that were to go up in that location for, not just for us, our selfish reasons, for our, that's our deck and then right there would be the cell tower, but just for the community itself. I think if there's other optional places, that'd be great. I've also spoke with other folks about the health concerns for a tower like that and something where, even in the church parking lot, we understand that that's their decision if that becomes an option because of the zoning, I think, but I understand income is important to church community, but I don't know what the feelings of the church community are. I've heard some that were not in support of that, but we just wanted to voice our concerns at this point. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else signed in?
Yes, next signed in is Ristine Casagranda.
Ristine Casagranda, 225 2nd Avenue. I saw that you guys are discussing your priorities to pass on to the council. As a hotelier that is dependent on lodging and having multiple small hotels, it makes me cringe to hear that in the same sentence, looking for a solution for long-term housing and discussing lodging within city limits is in the same sentence. I don't think that one industry should be suppressed or stifled in order to find a solution for another problem. So I'm hoping that you guys will have a discussion so I can further hear why those are wrapped into the same sentence. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else signed in?
No, Madam Chair.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on any item at this time, items that are not listed for public hearing tonight? Seeing no one, is there anyone in the hall?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, and we've received no one expecting a phone call?
No.
Thank you. So that closes citizens' comments on other items than those for public hearing tonight and moves us to item 5, approval of the agenda and the consent agenda. What are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Swann, second by Charbonneau. I'd like to amend the agenda and pull the minutes from the consent agenda.
Okay.
There's just a couple of quick changes that needed to happen on those. And so I make a motion to amend it. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Swann. Any discussion at this time? We can take it up when we get to the minutes. Seeing and hearing none, the amendment passed by unanimous consent takes us back to the main motion on the agenda and consent agenda. Any discussion, any other deletions, additions? Seeing and hearing none by the commission, since we had an amendment, I'll ask for a roll call vote on it.
Yes, roll call vote on the approval of the agenda as amended. Charbonneau?
Yes.
Swann?
Yes.
DeMoss?
Yes.
Ambrosiani?
Yes.
Cease?
Yes.
Hatfield?
Yes.
And Chair Eklund.
Yes.
The agenda is passed as amended.
Would you list the consent agenda items? I see none.
There was nothing passed on the consent agenda.
All right, thank you, Andy.
Yes.
Okay, special reports and presentations. 6A, City Administration Report, please.
Madam Chair and Commission, I just wanted to thank you for attending the meeting this evening, and I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background of what the city and administration, along with the city clerk, is trying to work on for future meetings. We are trying to, the clerk has been working with the college to possibly rent the Ray building. because the college is closed, we're having trouble trying to get into the building, but that will give us a larger setting, be able to have you guys on the stage, and then have a maximum amount of people being in attendance, and we're hoping that we can do that for work sessions. But for regular meetings, we will do this procedure and see how it works. I mean, I think we've done pretty good. Trying to get people to know that we do have a new email address, so you can contact planning@cityofseward.net. You can still contact all three of us by our first name, our first initial, last name, but this one is where you would want to field your questions and those type of things. I also would like to introduce everyone to our new city planner, Eric, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, pull his mask down so you guys can all see his face, and then have him tell a little bit about himself.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Kajelski. I'm new here. I started April 15th. This is my first meeting here in Seward. And I've been a planner for approximately 7 years, doing school facility planning as well as doing city planning. So I have a little bit of different background. Was a Peace Corps volunteer from 2010 to 2012 in Albania, so that's something interesting about me, I guess. Other than that, I'm looking forward to working with everybody here in town and becoming part of Seward.
Well, welcome to this part of Seward.
And then Chair, I wanted to let everyone know that when we start moving forward and having work sessions, we might also have work sessions that are just inclusive to the commission being recorded, and then having a meeting afterwards, another work session for citizens' comments, sort of like a training exercise. We know that this process is going to be a little different for us because we do want to include the public as much as we can, but we may have to review something, discuss it as a commission, let everybody watch it, read minutes, and then have another meeting, another work session with citizen input. So we're going to try that, but just one of the reminders, I would like to remind everyone that at work sessions, there are no action taken. So nothing that would be talked about would be decided upon that evening. It'd be later on during a regular meeting. And that's all I have.
Any questions for administration at this time? Commissioner Ambrosiani?
Are we just going to try that maybe for 1 or 2 work sessions maybe? Because it's going to be doubling up on the number of meetings that we're having, and our work sessions, we only get a few people typically. So maybe there's a way to allow a few people to the work session and not have to have a second work session?
We've discussed it, and for the time being, it may be that we have 2 work sessions for every topic, just until we get a clearer understanding of how the city is to move forward with allowing the public process.
Thank you.
On that subject, I'm also on the Borough Planning Commission, and at this point, they have not held any work sessions, and neither has our city council. I'm curious as to where that type of a meeting that you outlined falls within the public meeting law. So I'd have to see something where maybe they've made an amendment to it during this pandemic to allow something like that, because where 2 or 3 are gathered, we need to speak in a public forum. So I just would like to see if somebody's come up with something, how we would meet the Public Meeting Act in order to have that type of a meeting. And then in addition, I know that We haven't had a meeting since March 3rd. And I was wondering where we're at on some of the other items, like the Fort Raymond. I noticed there's was a hole dug out there and some orange cones around it. So and do we have any more idea on what the Fort Raymond project, where's that at?
The Fort Raymond project has, we are waiting for capital improvement work sessions with the council to lead us in the direction of what projects they want to put as the top 5, top 10. There has been some surveying, different things done out there that we've needed, as well as the electric vault that's out there has needed to be worked on, and so that's what they've been doing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any other reports, announcements, or presentations? That brings to mind a presentation at our last meeting. We discussed a gold pan awarded to Martha Fleming for her years of service. And the council was going to award that at one of their meetings. Have we ordered that?
It is sitting in our office currently.
Okay. I know that Martha's being very careful on her public contacts, but
yes.
Okay. All right. So that takes us to item 7, public hearings. Your comments are limited to 5 minutes each. Those who have signed in will be given the first opportunity to speak. And under A, unfinished business items requiring a public hearing, we have none. Under B, the new business items requiring a public hearing. Resolution 2020-05 recommending Kenai Peninsula Borough approval of the Point Subdivision, creating 2 tracts, each located inside and outside Seward municipal boundaries, vacating lot lines, dedicating rights-of-way, and utility easements located on Nash roads within the industrial zoning district. And at this time, I'll open the public hearing. Do we have anyone signed in? Oh wait, staff report. Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Staff report.
If I may, yeah.
Flannery.
Madam Chair and Commission, before you tonight is a preliminary plat submitted by McLean Consulting on behalf of property owner Tim McDonald for your review and recommendation to the Kenai Peninsula Borough. This replat will vacate interior lot lines and dedicate new right-of-way, combining 8 parcels into 2 tracts, to be known as Tract A and Tract B. Total size is approximately 45.8 acres. The parcels are comprised of a triangular-shaped deed lot, 6 lots in the Clyde King subdivision, which are located outside city limits, and I'll just shorten it to, we'll call it Government Lot 1. It's got a long legal description. Government Lot 1 here, which is shown on the screen. That one's located inside city limits. This replat proposes to dedicate a 60-foot right-of-way along an existing access easement, generally running north-south, and ending in a cul-de-sac with then an east-west right-of-way, a 30-foot right-of-way running along the property line to provide access to a landlocked property known as Government Lot 2. For the subdivision review of this property, electrical service is available on the proposed tracts, and for the purposes of our subdivision agreement, this property is located in what's known as Municipal Service Area Zone 2, which is specified in City Code Chapter 5.25. So no subdivision installation agreement is required based on its location. If approved, Tract A would be approximately 21 acres and Tract B would be approximately 23 acres, so they're roughly proportional in size. The portion that would be known as Tract A, which is on the west side, includes a mix of uses, including camping and storage, and the proposed Tract B is undeveloped. A portion of this proposed subdivision is located within a flood zone, AE. That is indicated on the preliminary replat. A floodplain development permit within the city will be required for development activities taking place within regulatory flood areas. Staff has reviewed the preliminary plat and no objections were reported. The Public Works Department stated that the proposed right-of-way is currently obstructed, specifically the east-west section 30-foot right-of-way, and that no structures should be located within a platted right-of-way. And the City of Seward Electric Department requested a 20-foot utility easement centered on existing overhead power lines, which is shown on the preliminary replat. For the public notice process, we followed all of our normal noticing procedures and sending out mailers and posting signs on the property. A sign was posted on the property, and the commission was provided with a laydown item from a site visit that I conducted today to photograph the sign on the property. It was reported by a citizen that the sign was not visible from the right-of-way, so I went out and had a look. I'm standing on the shoulder of Nash Road directly opposite the property, and I've put an arrow indicating where the sign is. It's clearly is not visible from the right-of-way, unfortunately. The city code on that states that signs shall be placed so as to be visible from each improved street adjacent to the property, and failure to properly post notices is grounds for deferral or denial of the application. After the publication of the meeting packet, we had 2 public inquiries. One person sent an email wanting to be read into the record as a public comment. Another member of the public had questions about the map, which were answered by staff. So our recommendation is twofold. One, we would recommend adding a condition to section 1 of the resolution stating that the right-of-ways must be clear of obstructions for final platting to be sent on to the borough. That would be on page 5 of your packet in section 1, making an amendment to that. And the second one is that we recommend postponing this agenda item so that it can be properly noticed. And we will work with the property owner to make sure that that sign is posted properly. And that concludes my staff report.
Thank you. So, prior to postponing, I would like to open the public comment process and allow anyone that did make the effort to come to our meeting for public comment.
We have a comment that needs to be read.
We have one.
Okay, so we will, before we get to that, is the applicant in the room? I do not see Mr. McDonald.
No.
Okay, so I'd like to give the applicant the opportunity to speak first. Since they're not here, we'll go to the email that needs to be read into the record. Thank you.
Okay. This email is from Mike in Salco, 327 Baleen Boulevard. It reads, I own 33957 Nash Road, property adjacent to the proposed property replat on resolution 2020-05. I oppose the 2020-05 resolution based on the following reasons. 1, right-of-way along my property boundary is not necessary for the property to be subdivided, as it does not inhibit potential property development. 2, the easement that should be necessary is for utility reasons only. SOA property is not landlocked. 3, there are several derelict structures on the proposed right-of-way that the city would be responsible for after transfer. All derelict buildings and debris should be removed prior to resolution approval. 4, proper signage was not displayed. The intent of the sign is to make sure all affected properties, businesses, and residents are notified, not just people living in the city limits it affects. Signage was not placed in a location that anyone driving down Nash Road could see. As an adjacent property owner within 300 feet of the proposed replat, I was not formally notified. And that ends his email.
Thank you. Prior to Going back to the resolution, is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this item? Seeing and hearing no one, I'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission. We can make a motion on the resolution, just have some discussion, and then make a motion to postpone it as recommended. But I do have some questions about the email that was read into the record, so I don't want to have to wait for the second meeting in case that's not reread. So, is there a motion to put this on the floor for discussion?
I would like to make a motion that we approve resolution 2020-05.
Motion by Swann. Second by Ambrosiani. Okay. Does anyone have any discussion items on this?
I defer to you if you had some questions.
Okay, well, you were the one that made the motion, so do you have any questions on it?
No.
Commissioner Ambrosiani?
Yes, in Mr. Insulaco's email, he said there was structures on the right-of-way that the city would have to remove. Did you get to check that when you checked the sign?
I didn't go onto the property. What I've got pulled up behind you, and it is on page, oh shoot. Let's see, I'll refer to the page number of your packet. That's our satellite.
10.
Page 11. So if you go to page 11 here, you'll see where Nash Road is. I just went to Nash Road. I didn't go onto the property all the way today. I didn't have enough time, but you can see along the property line here, it looks like there is a collection of buildings. The difficulty for us is we get a plat map that shows what their proposal is, but it doesn't show as-built type drawings of where structures are located. We also don't rely on these parcel viewer maps to tell us exactly where property lines are located, because they can be off. It says that in little disclaimers that you see when you go to the plat map. So I think that the best policy is to just say you can't have obstructions on the right of way, and that will should ought to take care of that. It does appear that along that line, along that green line, it looks like there are obstructions in the proposed 30-foot right of way.
But would the city be responsible for removing those structures
Well,
if we
If
passed
that,
this?
if that went through and it was passed by the borough, that would become dedicated right away. It would become public property, and there would be this stuff all of a sudden located on public property. So if it really came down to it, it may well fall on the public entity to clear that, or just, I don't know, get into a discussion with the landowner at the very least about clearing that stuff off.
As suggested in the staff report, what we would do would be, when we amend section 1, we would state, and remove structures as recommended by staff in adherence to borough code, more likely. I mean, you can't have obstructions in a right-of-way on a plat map.
Can I add one more
Yes.
thing? There was a replat that the commission heard up in Cliff Edition in, I think, about 2018. There was a property owner wanted to split his parcel into 2 parcels, and there was an unimproved alleyway located behind that parcel. And this, it's small stuff, but there's a little Rubbermaid shed that was shown on the plat, and we recommended that get removed, even though the alleyway was unimproved, because it was just shown as located in public space.
Thank you.
My question is in regards to the location of the email objection. Could you point out where that property is located and which right-of-way he is saying should not be required on his land?
The location of the adjacent property is right here, and it is this section of right-of-way that he objects to being, and this is the landlocked piece of property here. It's a large parcel. It is owned by DNR. And I'll go back to the plat map so you can see that again. Now this one's got lot lines on it. Is that helpful?
Yeah, typically, I like to look at the plat map that was in effect prior to this plat map, because then you can see how that landlocked parcel was accessed prior to this new plat. And I'm not quite sure if we know how that DNR parcel was supposedly accessed prior to this new 30-foot right-of-way, because as Mr. Insalco?
Insulaco.
Insulaco stated, if the 30-foot dedicated right-of-way would be in this plat, he would be expected to provide a 30-foot right-of-way opposite that for the 60-foot wide borough maintained road. So he doesn't want to do that, so I'm just questioning where was the access before?
I can attempt to answer that. This government lot 1 and government lot 2 are very old properties that were patented by the US government. I did some research on these plats, and I did find some drawings. There was a plat done after the '64 earthquake to redraw the high water line, which shows this government lot 1 parcel. It is just not very descriptive or helpful, but I will take note of your request. I'll include any and all plat maps that I find for these if you like.
I'm sure you've reviewed them, and thank you for the input.
It's interesting.
I know that the borough will not approve this plat unless there is access to the landlocked parcel, and maybe there was never any designated route prior to this plat.
Madam Chair.
So that would be requiring another 30-foot dedication on the other side of that lot line.
And I did call the surveyor today and spoke with him, and I asked him what the intent was in the 30-foot right-of-way. And he said it was just that. He said the borough won't allow it.
Right, and at the time that this plat is approved, they won't dedicate a 30-foot right-of-way on the other property because it is not part of this plat. But at some point, if he ever subdivided and put forward a plat, he would be required to dedicate the 30-foot right-of-way. Not at this time. but
That
in
is
the
my
future if he
understanding, too.
subdivides.
Yeah.
Okay. So, due to the improper posting, I think the recommendation by staff is that we postpone this. And are we going to postpone it to a time certain or just until brought back by staff?
Until brought back by staff. It might take us a bit to contact the individual.
Oh,
We'll
okay.
go for, we'll shoot for the July meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll try tomorrow to get a hold of them.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we need a motion for a postponement.
I move to postpone.
Thank you, Commissioner Hatfield. A motion to postpone resolution 2020-05. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Swann. Any discussion?
Just it'd be nice if the staff would include those comments they're talking about.
Yes, if when it's brought back by staff, if, do we need to make an amendment to section 1 at this time? You'd like that before we, okay.
Then I will make that amendment to the resolution so that it can go out in the next meeting packet
Correctly?
with that condition on it.
Okay, so, is anyone prepared to make, we have an amendment on the, postponement motion on the floor. Could we, suspend the rules and call that postponement motion back for a moment? Is the maker agreement?
Sure.
Is the second in agreement?
Yep.
Okay, we're back to amending section 1. Could you review that language that you wanted added again?
Yes.
I think it was to remove the structures in the 30-foot right-of-way as recommended by staff.
That would do the trick. That would do the trick, yeah.
All right, well, who would like to make that motion? Commissioner Swann.
I make a motion that we amend, you got me because I didn't,
It's section 1.
there you go. Amend section 1 and add in, let's see,
Add in to remove structures in the 30-foot
Right.
right-of-way
remove structures in the 30-foot right of way,
as recommended by
as
staff.
recommended by staff.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Charbonneau. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Do we need a roll call vote, or can we have it by unanimous consent?
I'll take a roll call vote on the
Okay.
amendment. The roll call vote on the amendment to amend section 1, the resolution to add a condition to remove structures in the 30-foot right-of-way as recommended by staff. Commissioner Hatfield,
Yes.
Swann,
Yes?
Cease,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Ambrosiani,
Yes.
Demas,
Yes.
and Chair Eklund.
Yes,
That amendment is approved.
thank you. And now back to our last motion. Commissioner Hatfield, would you restate that motion?
25.
I move to postpone resolution 2020-05, is that it? Until the time that
Brought back.
it's brought back by staff.
I'll second that.
And seconded by Commissioner Swann. Any discussion on the postponement? Seeing and hearing none, the postponement is approved by unanimous consent. Okay, that takes us to the next item on agenda, a resolution 2020-06, recommending city council approval of the rezoning of lots 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the north one-half of lot 6, block 16, from multifamily residential R3 to central business district, CB. Staff report, please.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, before you tonight is a recommendation to Council for land use plan amendment of lots 2, 3, 4 through 5, and the north lot of 6, block 16. Left out of the title was original town site Seward, but in the notification letters and on the placard that was in the notification packet. The clerk reviewed that and said that it would be okay to make an adjustment to the title by motion, if you so choose. So that this recommendation of the aforementioned lots from multifamily residential to commercial business. These lots are currently addressed 337 5th, 335 5th, and 331 5th Avenue. They're located between Jefferson and Adams Street on the west side of the street. The item is brought for public hearing and discussion by Ristine Casagranda and joined by Charles Bassell and Peter Canava. The applicant is requesting this rezone in order to bring the land use into conformance with the future land use plan, as well as to provide for commercial uses allowed within the central business district. As in the application, a possible cell phone tower, possible commercial business. The total area of the lots is 0.31 acres. However, the Development Department recommends maintaining our community vision through implementation of the future land use plan. Being that this application meets the city code requirements for consideration by the Planning Commission and City Council, as parcels are contiguous to the requested central business zoning districts to the north and along the alleyway to the west of these properties. And this would bring the parcels into conformance with the future land use map of the 2030 comprehensive plan. Property owners within 300 feet of the subject area were notified per our process of this proposed rezoning. The public notice was posted on site on May 19th, and the hearing was appropriately posted around town in the designated locations and noticed in the Seward Journal. Public notice included language describing the proposed amendment that would rezone the lots from multifamily R3 to commercial business CB. I would like to restate the surrounding land use and zoning description into record. As defined in City Code, Central Business District provides for an area of convenient, attractive, concentrated commercial development, primarily intended for retail, financial, entertainment, and professional services occurring with enclosed structures. Regulations applying to this zone are designed to encourage a compact group of business of type which are mutually beneficial and located close enough together to encourage walk-in trade. Okay, lots 2, 337 Fifth Avenue is 0.07 acres. Lot 335 Fifth Avenue is 0.07 acres. And lots 4, 5, and the north half of 6 are 0.17 acres for your total of 0.31. They are all residential dwellings. However, Lot 3 is currently operating as a, or has a permit for short-term rental. Parcels to the east across Fifth Avenue are zoned either multifamily or residential, either multifamily residential R3 or central business. There is one single-family dwelling that is within that area and several vacant lots in that area. Parcel to the south of the rezoning area is a single-family home and is currently zoned multifamily residential also. Staff reviewed the application and no objections were received at the time of this report. Prior to publication, we had one request for more information on the addresses, and after publication we did have the second owner for Lot 2, which is 337 Fifth Avenue, came into the office because she did not get a notification. That has to do with how our process is when we pull the data from the tax assessor. We only got the first address and the first owner. We are working to fix this for the future. Miss Kopic is here today to speak as well on that. She is the second owner on that. Let's see here. Okay. Staff is recommending that the commission make a motion to postpone the resolution so that you may add those areas that are R3 contiguous to what would be rezoned, which is the southern lots 7, 8, and the south half of 6 would be all by itself as R3. And since we are recommending that postponement, you could add the parcels on the east half of the block into that same notification same rezone. To bring the entire block into conformance with the future land use map. This would require a second notification period, and we would be required to contact the owners of those parcels, as well as do the 300-foot mail out and repost. Okay.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I may have to disclose a conflict of interest, and I'm not sure. I do have a business relationship with the applicant. I'm an independent contractor at the brokerage that she owns, which is not affiliated with this property, nor do I stand to gain any financial interest in it or anything. I believe I have a biased opinion and would like to participate, but I do want to disclose that.
Okay, so are you requesting to recuse yourself?
I'm not necessarily requesting to recuse myself. I guess I just wanted to disclose that and make sure that you guys have that information, being a new commissioner.
So at this point, then, we bring it back to the commission to determine, the commission can vote on whether or not we think Commissioner DeMoss should recuse herself or not. If she can choose the request, and we then could determine if we feel there is a reason that she should be recused or whether she stays on there. Is there any motion? Seeing
You
and
need
hearing
to do a
no.
motion to ask a question or two? Or?
No, you could ask a question about the process.
Oh,
Do you want to ask a question of her,
I was going to ask a question of
Commissioner DeMoss?
Commissioner DeMoss.
Go ahead.
Did you say it was a business relationship?
Yeah, I am an independent contractor. I'm a real estate agent, and I work at the applicant's brokerage that she owns, Coastal Heritage Properties, that she owns and manages. But that business has nothing to do with what she's requesting here, just for clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good. Any motion? Seeing and hearing no motion, you may remain on the dais for this discussion.
Thank you.
And at this time, I would like to open public comment on this item. And do we have anyone signed in?
Yes, we have two people signed in.
Okay, I'd like to offer the applicant the first opportunity to speak if she is signed in.
She's signed in as the first.
All right.
Christine Casagrande, 225 Second Avenue. Just to give you guys a little bit of history on this, I was approached by the landowner, asked if I wanted to buy the property, and I agreed. So I bought the property, and shortly after buying the property, under my LLC that I'm not the owner of, I'm the member of, because there's nobody that owns an LLC. That I discovered that it was zoned R3, and upon discovering that it was zoned R3, the building is pretty old. I have no intentions of plowing it down, but maybe one day I may want to develop it differently. I learned that in R3, with a 3,000 square foot lot, you can only build a 10-foot wide home. So at first I went to Commissioner Hatfield and said, can I lobby you to try to change some things in our code to see if maybe I could possibly, the clock's not started.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
To possibly make it so that this lot could be more developable, because, I'm sure it's just not for me. Everybody that has a 3,000 square foot lot, as you can see, there's lots of them that are zoned R3, are limited to building a 10-foot wide home. And I think that with our housing crisis, if we're really looking how we're going to make more long-term housing, 10-foot wide homes aren't going to do much for many people. So that seemed like it was kind of a chunky process and a lot to do, and I think that as a commission, maybe that's something that you guys can look at separately. So then I went to the future land use plan to see that this is actually in the future land use plan to be zoned commercial business district, where in commercial business district, if I was to develop a single family home, I could have 5-foot side yard setbacks, and also if I was to build a business, I could go all the way to lot line. And then simultaneously, I did have a communications tower company call me and ask for one of my locations up on 3rd Avenue. And I felt the same way as the costers as far as that. I haven't got much information. I'm not totally attached to anything. I think the biggest thing that I'm attached to is our public process. I appreciate our public process, and that's what it's here for. I'm more so attached to the recommendation that is being made, that I paid $300. I followed the process. I have an application in. I even went to the extra lengths to lobby and try to find, and I hate trying to find people, but I did my very best to try to find people. I did find out shortly after for my neighbors to the north that there was a because like the city said, when you pull up the tax rolls, you only see one person, so I got all stalked out and found the one person, and then found out there was another actual person, and I reached out to them, and I never got a response. So I did just submit my application. I'm glad that they're here today to publicly speak. But I guess the biggest problem that I have is it's my application, it's my money, it's my time, and now there's a recommendation to say, well, why don't we just put all these other people on her application? And I'm fine, if the city wants to apply with me, that's great, but maybe give me back my $300 and the city can pay the $300 and make it their application, and I'll get on their application. Mm-hmm. So with that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next speaker,
Miss Megan Kopic.
thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Megan Kopic, 337 Fifth Avenue. I've owned that house for 22 years. 22 years. Mr. Bussell has been absent for 21 and a half of those years, not even in the state of Alaska. He and I have had no contact. This has been my home. My son was born and raised in that home. I am currently in the process of historic restoration and preservation of that home. It is a historic neighborhood. It's in the historic district. I was not informed. I was not consulted. I was not asked. And I do not consent to my home being rezoned at all. I find it very difficult to believe that a realtor does not know about building codes and lot lines in this town. I certainly did. I have for years. That's really all I have to say. I think turning this into, this is a beautiful neighborhood. We have the Sweatman house at one end. Okay, I'm working on the historic preservation of my home on the other end, and yes, it is a very slow, long, drawn out, arduous, and expensive, and I have been throwing everything I have into it, process. We have 3 homes right across the street that were officer housing in World War II, and I don't like the idea of damaging the integrity of the history of that block. Aside from my own personal not wanting my home being rezoned. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else signed in?
No.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this item at this time? Seeing and hearing no one, I will close public hearing on this item and bring it back to the commission. For a motion. we'll start with the main motion, and then we have to amend the title, and then we can open discussion.
Motion to approve.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2020-06.
Thank you, Commissioner Charbonneau. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And second by Commissioner Swann. This is the amendment to accurately make the title correction, which was omitted on the notice sent out by the city clerk's office. It just had lot and block. It did not have the subdivision title.
All right. I'll make a motion that we amend resolution 2020-06, adding the words original town site of Seward after the words block 16 as it is written in the first whereas of the resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And second by DeMoss. Thank you, Commissioner Swann and Commissioner DeMoss. Is there any discussion on this amendment? Is there any objection to unanimous consent? Seeing and hearing no objection, the motion to correct the title has been approved, and that brings us back to the main motion, the approval of this resolution. Commissioner Charbonneau, did you want to open the discussion?
Yes, so I was just kind of concerned about leaving one lot out of the zoning around. I think the city kind of mentioned that in the beginning. And especially across the way too, if we're going to start changing this, I don't want to just leave little islands stuck in a different zone.
Commissioner Swann? No? Commissioner DeMoss?
I guess just in reply to that, I would say that it's the applicant that's asking for the change in the zoning. So I guess I just don't understand if applicant is trying to rezone their property for what the future land use is. Is it typical for them to be responsible for gathering all of the other spot zoned or incorrectly zoned properties as well? Or are they allowed to just move forward with their property?
Okay, when reviewing this, I had just been briefed on the Forest Acres rezone that you guys just did with lots 00, PP, XX, BJ, and NN. And the reason that that was postponed and then brought back was because the commission did not want to recommend a rezoning that was not contiguous to all of that area.
Okay.
So it included all of those pieces.
I wasn't on the commission. Thank you.
I was just...
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Okay.
And that was the purpose for that
Doing it this way then?
Yes.
Can I?
Sorry, yeah.
I guess in addition to that then, I would say if that's something that is going to be continual, then we should be probably informing the applicants of that, correct?
Just want to add something to that. That lot in Red Forest Acres was part of the block. It was a whole block getting rezoned, and there was this little tiny piece that was attached to all the others. In this situation, these lots are south and touching the rezone, and across the street, and down and across the street, I think, are all the three that the staff is recommending get included. Which, if they were to get included, this would have to get reposted, and someone would have to get the signatures of 51% of the property owners.
Madam Chair, we would not require another 51%. What we would do is work off of the current application that we have that was presented, and then re-notice it, allowing the people that we are trying to encompass, to give them the information saying, you know, this applicant has applied for this area. The the commission has postponed and requested that we include this whole entire area and these blocks. We would do that reach out, just like we did with Forest Acres, just like we did with Second Avenue. That's what our department works on. So we would contact them. It would not be any additional signatures. It would be by request of the commission, requesting administration to contact the people that we're looking at rezoning.
Commissioner Swann, go ahead.
So, up in Forest Acres, we had no objections. In this situation where we have a property owner that is objecting, they would be able to not be included, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So, my concern is, in city code, isn't it required that a majority of the property owners being rezoned are in approval of the rezone? And are you, in your explanation, were you just saying that's not
No, what
part
I
of
was
the code?
saying is that we wouldn't require the applicant to go out and get those signatures. It would be just like we did with Lot 00. You know, we contacted the two people that had not been included in the application. You know, the one woman was very adamant, she still wanted to have her single house, family housing. We talked to her, she came and spoke, but, you know, we told her, you can still have your single housing, it's just that your single family housing, it's just that we would like to have it cohesive with our land use plan, and that way we're not leaving, like Charbonneau said, Commissioner Charbonneau said, that we're not leaving islands out there of these different small zoned areas.
Planner Bacon?
In the portion of code that it concerns zoning amendments, in 1501.035, section B, under initiation, number 1, it says changes in this title may be initiated by the following means. A, by the city council on its own motion.
Okay.
B, by the commission on its own motion. C, by a petition of a majority of property owners in the area to be amended. D, by a petition bearing the signatures of 50 registered voters within the city. Or E, by petition as provided by the home rule charter of the city. So those are all the ways in which one might enact a land use change.
Thank you for bringing that section of code up. So
Yeah.
the commission could include, ask to have these other lots included so that the whole block is CB. The owner of Lot 2, which is the one just south of the You Can Use It, I believe, that does not want to be included. But if the others all want to be, does that mean she has to?
It would mean that we would rezone it all CB, but she can leave her usage the same that it is.
She doesn't have to
Yeah,
change
she doesn't
the
have
use
to
of her
change
property.
anything. She can still continue to do her historic restoration. She can still continue to do all of
Right.
that.
But her property will be CBD.
Instead of R3.
And she could build to the lot line if it's a
Correct.
business
If she
or
wanted
within
to.
5 feet. I have a question on the statement that this R3 requires 10-foot setbacks on the side. Isn't it 15? You have to have,
Development requirements.
yeah, on the setbacks. Isn't it 15 combined setback? You could have 5 on one side, 10 on the other?
That is for properties that are located north of Phoenix Ave. You have to have that combined
Okay,
15-foot
but-
setback.
But
Downtown?
But in the R3 zoning district particularly, it is 10-foot side yard setbacks.
So our 30-foot lots would then only allow a 10-foot wide home?
This is a peculiarity of the downtown zoning where back in the day on the old zoning maps, you'll see a lot of downtown used to be zoned R3. That started to change. This area right here is all we've got left of R3 zoning downtown. The rest of our R3 zoning is up there on your doorway, and those lots are all substantial in size, meant for multifamily developments where a 10-foot setback is considered appropriate for the proportion of the buildings that would get constructed on those lots.
So if this was changed to CB, it would be 5-foot setbacks?
No, it'd be 0 now.
Even if it's not,
If it was a
even if
business.
it's not a commercial business? Even if it was residential?
When somebody wants to build a residential on a central business district lot, they need to apply for a conditional use permit, and the commission has in the past recommended residential style setbacks and parking requirements on those properties. I'll tell you another fact about our land use code is that when a central business district lot is bordered by a residential lot, the setback requirement of that residential lot must apply to the neighboring central business district lot. Does that,
Okay.
you follow that? Everybody follow
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Any further discussion? So the recommendation by staff is that we postpone this, and the city staff would then do the legwork to add all these other R3 properties in this block, or both sides of this street, and come back with a rezoning to change all of them to central business district.
Correct, and there would be no additional cost to the.
No additional cost to the applicant, no additional time required by the applicant.
Absolutely not, no, we would do all of it.
Okay, and all it would be a delay of
The approval,
till July 13th,
is that the date of our meeting, yes.
our next meeting?
Yes.
So that's
Sharon.
second.
The
I think
7th?
that's the first Tuesday in July.
Oh, the 7th, so
Second, did I say?
the 7th, I
It's the
believe.
7th of
It
July.
is, okay.
Okay, so,
Should we double
Yes.
check with the applicant that in delaying it, we aren't incurring her more costs? I don't know what her plans are,
I'd like
but
to relax the rules and ask the applicant to come back to the podium, please, for some questions.
I appreciate suspending the rules, and as much as I want it to be mine and my way, if it's better for the community, I will be patient. So, you guys do what you need to do. I trust that you're doing the best for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Sharon.
Casagrande. Commissioner Swann, did you have a question for the applicant?
No, not
Commissioner
for the applicant.
Ambrosiani?
Okay. I had a question. Earlier I asked staff that if you called the different lot owners and they objected to it, I asked if they would be able to stay out of this. And the reason I ask this, because it does greatly affect the property owner. If there are R3 currently, that means their zone, their setbacks affect the central business on either side of them, and front and back, or back. So if you force a landowner to switch to central business, then all of a sudden, they cannot control, they don't have the ability to stop someone going right to the 0 lot line. And so I think there is a significant effect to a single property owner. So when you go across the whole thing and changing something, you are affecting that person. It's not just, you can do what you want with it, it's central business, it has no effect on you. So,
Yes, I understand that, but we, like I was saying, if the commission wants to move forward with making it so the city is zoned the way that the comprehensive plan reads, then you can make the request to rezone just that block and the one extra lot, the side where the 3 lots are. You can direct us to try to rezone the whole entire thing, and we can come back with, if there's nays or pros or cons from those business or those property owners. I mean, we'll do all that research, but we have to have the guidance from you to tell us to do it. So if we came back and said, you know, the whole side of the east side of the street, they want to stay R3, we would let you know that, and then we would probably present to have just the other side rezoned, so it's all contiguous.
Commissioner DeMoss.
Is there a way to allow the applicant, since she followed everything properly, and this is kind of what we want to do to make everything look pretty, and not everybody might be in agreement with wanting to do the same thing, is there a way to allow the applicant to move forward, since what she wants to do is what we're asking in the future land use plan? Since when you buy something like that, you kind of want to get going right away to get some income. Is that an option while they do their research and see what everybody else wants to do? Because not everybody else is going to want to do the same thing, and there's going to be a lot of discussion about it, while the applicant who paid the $300 fee is sitting around waiting to do something with her property.
So Madam Chair, through Commissioner DeMoss, I would like to point out that if the commission were to vote for that to happen, you need to take into effect that the current owner of one of the properties in that application did not get notified properly.
Commissioner DeMoss.
If the applicant applied without getting the other owners on board, would that be an issue? Because that's apparently what she was advised. Okay, so regardless,
Everybody
she
has to be
needed.
notified.
And is that the majority? If it's for, it was for.
Everybody has to be notified.
Everybody has to be
Everybody
notified.
has to be notified by code.
And since the sign was posted, if she just didn't get it, that's what other ways
She still has
are.
to receive a notification.
Okay. Is that by certified mail or?
We don't send it by certified, but we have a list of who we sent letters to.
Mhm.
She's not on the list and she is a current owner.
And she was, okay, so I guess my only thing with that is I feel as though the applicant may have been given some misinformation on how to move forward with the process. And it may end up costing her money, which I don't feel is right. She was told that, let's see, she was encouraged to get the other people on board, and then she was told that she could find the owners on the KPP website, which is where she went, and that was only one owner listed, as we stated. So she didn't even have the information on the
So
owner.
the second owner is listed on the KPD website. It's the way that we pull data in to do the mailing.
Uh-huh,
So if you were to pull up the parcel, the second owner is listed on it.
okay,
So, but when we pull our data in, we get the first owner, the first list. We
okay,
didn't realize, this is literally the first time that it's happened to us.
right.
We were not informed that there was a second owner until she walked through our door.
And so I guess, again, I would say, why does the applicant have to pay for that? That would be
So
my comment.
when you say, Commissioner DeMoss, pay, you mean by delay?
By delay,
By delay.
absolutely, because every day is,
Well,
who knows how much money. That would be my concern.
Recently, there was a request for a cell phone tower on Borough property within a city. And it takes a long time for the cell phone companies to get the permits in order to put a cell phone tower in.
Mhm.
So if that was the money-making that she would be out, I think by the time those permits were all handled, and they couldn't pull a permit if it wasn't zoned right. So,
Right.
yeah, there would be a delay, but it is a long process to put a cell tower.
Yeah, and
I
just
guess-
with that being said,
I guess, and my only other comment to that thing is just the public process, and it just takes time.
okay,
It's not,
okay,
I mean,
So
thank you.
so it's either going to come back and all of it's going to be changed, or it's going to come back with 3, 4, 5, and the north half of 6 changed. Is that how we're seeing this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if 2 doesn't change, the lot 3 would have to keep a 10-foot setback on that north side.
Yes, ma'am.
Currently, the homes on those lots are grandfathered and sit closer to the lot line than 10 feet, correct?
They're legal non-conforming,
Right.
yes.
Okay,
We don't use the word grandfather.
Ah, poor grandpa. Okay, so they are legally non-conforming at this time, and they wouldn't be required to change if the applicant and the owner of Lot 3 wanted to keep that home. She could keep that home.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. But if anything else was built there, it would, on the north side, would have to
it
have a
would have
10-foot
to, yes, it would
setback,
have to meet current code
but 5 on the south side.
Or get a variance.
or get a variance.
Right, okay. All right. So, are we put Commissioner Ambrosiani?
Sure. I have two things. They're this topic, but not necessarily right next to each other. One is that the reason, okay, there's a sign that has to be put out when you're gonna make a change, and that was done.
Yes.
And then it's up to the city staff to notify the landowners, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
And so both landowners were not notified, but the landowner in question that wasn't notified did find out and was able to come and make her case. So what would be the benefit of doing it all over again if the person we're trying to make sure gets an opportunity to speak, got an opportunity to speak? So I'm not sure why we have to do that, because the intent of the language was accomplished. So I have that question. The other question is, if we're going to use this person's application to make a broad change like this, I heard you say there would be no additional fees, but why should there be a fee at all? If we're making these changes, if we're saying we just want all this to be in compliance, why would we keep their money if we're gonna, use that as a stepping stone to make these other changes?
So first, we don't refund any money once an application has been filed. It's listed on the bottom of all of our applications. Second, because of the time that goes into it, to do it. But when an applicant comes in, we are not looking at rezoning that, but when an applicant comes in and says, hey, I really would like to rezone that, then we have to look at the comprehensive plan and everything else to see if it fits. And then if it fits, then we say, oh, well, we should try to connect all of that instead of just these 3 parcels or 4 parcels. So it's how we work in our office, it's how the city works with the code. We're not, our ground truthing that we keep talking about, that's going through and looking at how the different properties are being used and seeing if those zonings are working, or if we need to change them, or if we need to, make all of them R1 or R2. So, but the city doesn't make the first initial step unless we are directed by council or commission.
So if this commission went back and said, we wanted you to make these changes, then would that person still be out there $300?
Yes, because of the work that's already gone into it.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem right.
Well, they initiated the process.
They initiated it, yeah.
They initiate it, but then we tack on all this extra stuff and say, thanks for helping.
Yes.
Exactly.
It doesn't seem fair, really.
Is, follow up on Commissioner Ambrosiani, we put that on the bottom of the applications. Is that from code?
Yes.
It's got a reference?
It's literally worded from our attorneys. We put it at the bottom of every application.
So it's...
But
It's
Is there a
It's
code
because
reference?
it's one of the fees that are assessed by the city manager and the administration. So
So it's on a fee schedule?
it is on a fee schedule,
fee
but
schedule
we don't
is-
refund any of the, and it says that it won't be refunded once it's applied, permitted, once it's put in.
I have the land use amendment rezoning application is very sketchy, and there's only 2 pages. The minutes, signatures, yeah. The application is accompanied by...
Isn't this kind of an administrative problem and not really for us to worry about?
Well, I don't know if we have the power to amend it.
Okay,
I
well,
mean,
this
we
wouldn't
can't
be the
amend it
problem.
if it's part of code, but we should amend it if
But
it's.
we don't have the power, and neither does the commission have the power to refund money back. It would have to go to council.
Okay, all right. Mute point. All right, so Commissioner Hatfield.
I was just going to say that the lots that she did go and find the contact the owner's contact to are helping her build a bigger house on her property by including those 2 lots on either side of her, so I'm glad that the commission or the staff is going to take over in possibly doing the rest of that, but that did help her case to include those other 2 pieces of property, depending on what she wanted to do with the property in the future.
The applicant.
Mhm.
Okay,
So-
yes, yes. Okay, so, did we have a motion to postpone?
We have not made that motion yet.
I'll make a motion to postpone until the planner and the assistant planner can gather the correct information to make these all proper changes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Hatfield made the second. Commissioner Charbonneau made the motion. Discussion. Commissioner Charbonneau, did you want to start the discussion?
I think we've covered it fairly well. I just don't want to leave Ireland sitting around.
Okay. Commissioner Hatfield, any additional comment?
No, as long as it doesn't involve any incurred costs to the applicant, which she said she's happy to be patient if it helps the city out, then I think we should take this opportunity to make it all right.
Commissioner Ambrosiani, you had your hand
I
up?
think there should be a date on this one.
Okay.
I don't like it being indefinite.
Do you want it to amend your motion to add the July 7th date?
Yeah, I can do that. I'd like to amend that motion to add a July 7th deadline for it, or?
Date for.
Date,
Yeah,
yeah.
just for date,
Yeah.
to bring it back. The second, approve that amendment? Okay, so Commissioner Swann.
The only thing I'd like to add on that is my comment of earlier, that if a property owner does not want to be included in it, they should not be included in it.
How does that
Commissioner
work?
Hatfield.
How does that work when 2 property owners of the same property disagree? Do we only need one property owner to agree, or do we need both of them to agree?
We advised, the staff has advised the property owner to contact the borough and work that out, but we would still have to have agreement from both as it stands right now, is what I'm asking for.
Okay, so, my only comment is that, I really wanted to postpone this just because the title was wrong and it was put out there wrong to begin with, and then if we add these properties, the 300 feet from the property line, it increases and we have to get all that. And, so, I'm gonna be in favor of this, so let's have a roll call vote.
Okay, we've got a roll call vote on the motion, excuse me, on the motion to postpone this agenda item until July 7th. Swann?
Yes.
Ambrosiani?
Yes.
Charbonneau?
Yes.
Cease?
Yes.
DeMoss?
No.
Hatfield?
Yes.
Chair Eklund?
Yes,
The motion to postpone is approved.
thank you. That brings us to, item 9, since we have no unfinished business for 8, which is the resolution 2020-07 recommending city council approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission priorities from April 2020 to April 21. Staff report, please.
One moment.
Okay. This resolution is recommending City Council approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission priorities from April 2020 to April 2021.
Eric, would you like me to step in?
Sure, okay.
Madam Chair, annually we review and work with the council on our yearly priorities. We had a joint work session on February 25th, 2020. And during that work session, the commission and council reviewed and updated the priority list that we have in front of you. We did present them a draft list, and then off of that list, we've added the short-term and long-term, or continuing. And that's what is in front of you this evening.
Thank you. At this time, I will bring it back to the commission for a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve resolution 2020-07.
I can second it.
Second by Commissioner Ambrosiani. Discussion?
Item number 6, we have in here communication tower education work session with industry experts. Because stuff has come up, this has been around for several years, and it is now becoming something that sounds like we should be looking at reviewing our code concerning this. And so I think that we should change 6 to something a little bit more appropriate. Just review communication tower code or something down that line.
What, would 1 encompass it, review and update all of Title 15? Is the communication tower in Title 15? Yeah.
It
Yes.
is, but I think we want, I mean, that's been something, I think it should be more specific. Because I think it's something that we've been postponing for because we've never been able to get council. Because it was supposed to be a joint council work session, and we've never been able to get them to take the time. But
So,
it's something that I think that should be we should just move forward with it.
do you want to just add communication tower education work session with an industry expert held jointly with the city council? Because it says if possible, so if they're not going to, we can go forward.
Well,
And then, and draft updated ordinance
sure.
and recommended draft ordinance to council, something like that.
That would be much better.
Okay.
Or that would be to my liking.
Oh, good. My question or change is on the second page, page 25, item 3 under continuing. To continue to pursue compliance with Seward City Code by prioritizing the outstanding health and safety issues such as snow removal, illegal camping, junk vehicles, etc. And then it says in italics, this is an annual review. So it makes it sound like we do it once a year. Well, snow removal's in a different time than illegal camping. Can we say this is an ongoing review instead of annual review? Thank you. So I guess those are amendments. We're making amendments. I move to amend that item to say this is an ongoing review. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Charbonneau. And Commissioner Swann made the motion to amend item 6, and I seconded it. Okay. Any other discussion on this resolution?
Madam Chair, can I just get the right wording for number 6? That's to communication tower education work session with possible industry expert and to draft an updated ordinance for council.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, right, Commissioner Swann? Yeah. Any other amendments to this resolution? Okay, let's take the First Amendment. Is there any discussion discussion on the First Amendment, item 6? That's all that brief, but- Seeing or hearing no discussion, the amendment to 6 is approved by unanimous consent. And then under continuing, item number 3, is there any discussion on that amendment? Seeing and hearing no discussion, is there any objection to unanimous consent of that change? Seeing and hearing none, that's approved by unanimous consent. That takes us back to the main motion of the resolution to set our priorities. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Oh, roll call vote on resolution 2020-07 as amended. Hatfield,
Yes.
Swann,
Yes.
Demas,
Yes.
Ambrosiani,
Yes.
Cease,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
and Chair Eklund.
Yes.
Resolution 2020-07 is passed and approved as amended.
Thank you. That takes us to item 9B, discuss design and development specifications for communication towers for planning and zoning commission priorities. Maybe the staff has some discussion for us tonight, but we're gonna have a work session on it. So what do you have for us, administration?
Madam Chair, our plan was to discuss this and possibly include it when we do the land use changes work session that we are trying to schedule and get coming up. So we could tie it in at the same time. And Eric has been doing some great research on cell phone towers and other cities' codes and how they've been working with it. And before COVID happened, I just want everybody to know we did have both Verizon and AT&T planning on coming and talking to you about towers. And because COVID happened, we had to cancel that.
Sure.
Commissioner Ambrosiani.
Do we need to do both of those in the same night? I would think communication tower would be priority, but can you do that one and hold off on land use? So-
Yes, we could. It's up to you guys. And, you know, I was sort of thinking that we could try to tie that into the C on the agenda where we're talking about either rescheduling the work session topic for May 19th, which was land use review, and or changing and having a new topic of discussion of the cell phone tower code.
Okay. All right, well, so that's where we are on B. Let's move to C, discuss rescheduled work session topic for May 19th, 2020. What are the wishes of the commission? Commissioner Ambrosiani,
I'd like us to talk about the cell phone towers.
at the next work session,
Yeah.
whenever that could be scheduled.
And like I said
Yeah, next
earlier,
year.
we are trying, we'll figure out, I mean, we did have a good amount of people here this evening. You know, when we start talking about land use changes and different changes, we have to be prepared for who could attend. And, I mean, we may be able to hold a work session like this with the same opportunities that we provided the commission and the public to, if we overfill this room, then it would be 15-minute intervals and we would trade them out into the hallway.
And we would have a screen set up for them to follow.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
I'd just like to, I just would also like to point out that, you know, as the committee, as Chair Eklund had said earlier, you know, no one is holding work sessions, and, you know, I feel that we're sort of a guinea pig when we're starting this, but I would like to keep following how the council is doing. You know, if they schedule a work session, how they're working on making it happen. And, you know, I would like us to follow the lead of council instead of us treading through.
Okay.
Is that saying you want to just postpone the work session until city council has a work session?
Well, I think that Monday night at the council meeting, they may have come up with a plan, and if that's the case, then we could go ahead and throw our meeting, you know, have it on the 19th.
Okay.
So, or not the 19th,
Yeah.
sorry, the
16.
16th. But,
The 16th of June.
Yep,
I'd
I would like the commission to make a title, have a topic, we'll put it in, and if we have to postpone it, we will notify.
I don't think we need a motion, but are we all in agreement that cell towers should be our next topic?
I think that'd be great, and it's a nice, simple, straightforward, it's not making it
And
complicated.
we would address the land use table based on where the cell phone towers would be allowed within the zone, so
Yes.
it tie in with that, at least we get that portion settled.
And we'll try to contact the people that I was having come, maybe we can have them telephonically call.
That'd be great.
And it also, if we could get someone that isn't one of the companies that wants to be here and is gonna tell us all the positive things, I'd like to hear from the science-based,
Okay.
if we can find somebody, just, pros and cons. I'd like pros and cons. Okay, so that's, if it's not June, we'll shoot for July and just keep going. Okay, that takes us to 9B, which was moved off the consent agenda, and there was just a couple of changes that needed to be made. It had Commissioner Fleming as being present. That should have been Commissioner DeMoss. So we need to, I'd like to amend the minutes roll call to change Martha Fleming to Liz DeMoss. And then there's a motion for resolution 2020-03 on page 29, said the motion was made by Fleming. And I'd like to amend that to be motion by Swann, second by Ambrosiani, based on the review Planner Bacon did of the meeting minutes after I asked to pull these. Commissioner DeMoss?
I also just noticed another housekeeping error, because I voted no on that motion. Amend section F6 on resolution to state that a vegetation greenbelt shall be maintained surrounding the bunkhouse. It says unanimous.
Under where, which page?
Page 31, amend section F6 of resolution to state that a vegetation greenbelt, I believe that was Swann's motion, and I remember voting no.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll
so,
review that, yeah.
okay. Is there a second to those three amendments based on Planner Bacon's final review?
Yes, I'll second that.
Second by Swann. Any further discussion on the minutes? Okay, those minutes,
We'll bring it back to the next meeting.
bring them back to the next meeting for final approval. Thank you. So, there are some items under informational items and reports. Is there any discussion or comments you'd like to make on items 10?
Madam Chair, if I can, the reason that the commission has the Parks and Rec Master Plan draft from 2016 is with the new Parks and Rec Director, we are going to try to move forward to review that plan at a future date. We just wanted to give it to you so you could review it, what was originally given, and then Eric also sent you guys out the draft, the one that is in.
The 1993 one?
Yes. That's the approved plan as we stand right now, so.
Thank you. Any other comments on items in 10 on the agenda? Seeing and hearing no one. For those, any commission comments at this time? Commissioner DeMoss?
No.
Commissioner Hatfield?
No.
Commissioner Charbonneau?
Is there any comments?
Any comments? These are our closing comments. We have response to citizens' comments at the end, yes.
I just wanted to thank all the citizens that came out today. We had a lot of people in here, and it's great when people show up.
Thank you. Commissioner Ambrosiani?
Welcome to our new staff, and thank you for all your preparation for the meeting.
Commissioner Cease?
I agree with Ambrosiani.
Thank you. Commissioner Swann?
I'd just like to say I'm happy to see that everybody looks and sounds physically and mentally good.
There's a lot of things I could say about what's going on currently around the world, but I would just like to say thank you all for wearing your masks, and please continue and wash your hands. Citizens' comments at this time. Is there anyone wishing to speak? Ms. Casagrande, please come forward.
Rissy Casagrande, I'm doing my best to be patient and to be molding to everyone's needs. I am disappointed, I just have to be honest, that was my application, and now it's everyone's application. Is it my understanding, if somebody could comment to my comments when you get a turn, what I heard from administration is I can go to council to get a refund for my $300 application, since my application is no longer my application, it's someone else's application. It was your guys' application now, because now you guys are petitioning to change the street. Let's see, as far as being a lodging owner, I just want to reiterate the obstacles that I feel come from community development towards my industry specifically. I've been saying this for a couple years now. The application process became difficult, and it just became more difficult. I'm a real estate agent who, for the record, I don't know all planning and zoning rules. When I have a client that is interested in land, I always refer them to call community development because I'm not a professional in the field. I'm a real estate agent. I sell homes. The application that we have for lodging is more stringent than an appraisal at this time. It's a self-inspection. And I'm just concerned, like, what's going to happen next year when the fire chief comes? Is every year it's going to get a little bit more difficult for me to be able to pass an inspection? First the application becomes 5 pages longer. Now the actual inspection, the things that are on that list, the fire chief never looked for in the past. It's not that big of a deal. They're all health and safety. My buildings are well maintained. It's not a concern to me. But when is it going to stop? You guys are still investing what I think, and maybe somebody should ask administration, $9,000 a year for software to see who is in lodging and who's not. Maybe it's time to end that subscription. I have $85,000 in refunds that I've given for this year. I don't think you need to worry about people operating B&Bs illegally. Everyone's dropped out. It's like survival of the fittest. You guys can go on Airbnb, VRBO, Expedia. You're only going to see the old faithfuls that have been there all this time. Everybody that came for the good of it all, they're gone. So it's back to the people that will work through the dirt, and I'm one of them. And I would appreciate if maybe you guys could just lighten up a little bit on the attack that I've been feeling for the last couple of years. And sorry if I sound vain or egotistical, but it's just how I feel. And that's what this forum is for public comment. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember LaPlante.
I want to thank everybody for all their time, and being a council member and a commissioner I know is not easy, and I just want to tell you that I appreciate all your time that you spend here. I was a little confused watching about the application on those plots, because I think what Commissioner Ambrosiani was trying to say, and also what Commissioner Charbonneau was saying, is he didn't want to do it because he didn't want to leave islands. People can still opt out of this. So even if you went back to ask everyone, you could still have islands. people could say, no, I don't want to be involved in that, or my property doesn't want to be involved in that. So that was interesting to me because there was also different options on how that could come forward to the commission. So even still, you would have still had an island if that was approved today, because you would have had the two other plots there with the one person who didn't want to be involved. So I understand postponement was probably mostly because of the title, which it has to be correct before it's approved. So thank you again for all your time and welcome back.
Thank you.
Seeing no one else in the audience and no one in the hall, I don't think, I will close citizens' comment and bring it back to the commission or administration for response to citizens' comments. Planner Bacon.
I've got a response to the meeting. I just wanted to apologize to the commission for errors in this month's meeting minutes. I also wanted to say that I honestly appreciate that you guys are reading these meeting minutes. I put a lot of effort into them every month, and I feel like I just kind of missed it on this one, and I'll double my effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a test.
And I take to heart Ms. Casagrande's comments, and I think that maybe we should look into waiving the contract that's doing the research on the lodging. I don't think we've gotten a full report for a while, and this was the year that we were supposed to, if people were operating outside the city code, that they were supposed to be fined, and I mean, then COVID hit, and so by the time that would have been on our list of things to ask about, we weren't meeting. So I think that there should be a review of that process. Sorry, I'm not sick of this. Just breathing my own air a long time. To Planner Bacon and Planner Eric, I can't say your last name yet. Yes, no one's perfect, and so thank you for graciously accepting the corrections. And yes, Director Wild.
Madam Chair, I'd like to answer some of the questions regarding lodging, just so the commission and the citizens understand. We do not pay $9,000 a year for the lodging audit. It was a one-time fee. The company did extend our contract, so because of COVID happening. So we are not paying for this year. Like they've given us another year on top of it. It was for 3 years, the $9,000. It was paid at the very beginning. We do not do $9,000 a year. It's $9,000 now for 4 years versus 3. The self-inspection that has been sent out to lodging owners is because we cannot send our fire chief, and we don't have we have a building inspector but not a life safety inspector right now. So the fire chief got overwhelmed, and we decided to go to self-inspection. So this year, it was we get your application, then they immediately send out I think it's 1 page, it's 2 pages, I'm sorry, a form that you go through and you certify that yes, you have done all these things. It gets sent back to us, and we put it right through to the clerk to issue the lodging permit. There's no fee to that. If you got your application in prior to COVID happening, then you were inspected by the fire department staff, and there was a fee involved. The application itself does not have 8 pages of paperwork that you have to fill out. It has 1 with including a floor plan and and a parking plan that you can do all in the same time. And your renewal is one application, and then the life safety self-inspection form, so 2 forms.
Any further discussion or comments? Did we see a big drop in nightly lodging applications?
We have seen a drop in them, yes.
Okay. All right. At this time, I will take a motion for adjournment.
I'll do that.
Motion by Swann. We are adjourned at 8:50.